Hi everyone, I'm really excited about this class. This is a 90-minute class of meditation, yoga flow, some restorative postures geared to grounding us within ourselves, within our mat, within our breath, and to release some stress. This practice is something that we're filming as well as live streaming, so it's going to be really interesting that you're going to be doing this class live, and then you'll have the option to do it over again because we're going to record that for you. So I hope you enjoy. Quite a long yoga practice tonight. We're going to do 90 minutes, which surprisingly will probably go by fast. So I'm Chelsea, for those of you who I haven't met yet and see a lot of familiar faces, and I'm from BPM Fitness and Yoga. And I just wanted to kind of talk about what yoga is for me, and what I'm hoping to invite you to practice tonight is to just really focus on bringing your attention and awareness inward. So coming into yourself and connecting to your body and your body's wisdom. So let's just ask the logical mind to take a seat on the sidelines tonight, so that we can connect more to what's going on in our body. So tonight's practice, we're going to be going through a little bit of a meditation to begin with, somewhat of a yoga flow, some restorative poses, and then coming into a final resting pose. And the reason why we wanted to do this yoga tonight and extend it to the community was because there is a lot of stress going on around us, outside of us externally, and there's nothing we can really do about that. The idea of yoga is to come into union with ourselves and our internal world. And so when we can connect to the breath and we can connect to the body, the mind starts to be able to settle. So for me, yoga is just one of many tools to use for stress release and for anxiety. However, it's not the only one. And a lot of people often have shared with me that they find that I'm quite calm and peaceful. And I think that's really funny because I am that way sometimes because of yoga, because of meditation. And I find that people who, like myself, yoga teachers, gravitate to yoga and to meditation so passionately because it's such a transformer for anxiety or any kind of stress in the life outside. So that's the gift that yoga can offer you. And I know that if the practice isn't familiar with you, maybe stick with it, find the right teacher, find the right class, and see what's out there for you, because it really is an amazing tool to help ground yourself in the body, using the breath to bridge between the body and the mind and just coming together in union with yourself. So I'm going to invite you to stay in your experience tonight, to focus on what's going on in your mat, in your body, and within you, and not so much what's going on everybody else's mat or on the screen as much. This is your yoga practice, so I just really want to make sure that you're the authority on your body here, and you know what feels good for you and what doesn't. And so in saying that, I just want you to call attention to the fact that some poses might not feel good for you and it might not feel right. I want you to honor that and listen to that and explore that sensation. And if it's painful, you just back out of that and just slowly come into a different posture that works better for you. No pain in yoga. And that's my mantra. And just listen, right? The body has wisdom and it has a lot to offer. And when we get quiet with ourselves, that's when we can hear that. So let's just start by taking 1 minute to arrive in our practice. So finding a seated posture that works for you. And we're going to create some length in the spine by pulling our big juicy glutes out of the way and finding those sits bones on the ground or on a blanket. Creating length all the way from the tailbone up through the crown of the head, to maybe take the eyes closed or even take the eyes to the ground in front of you. Whatever's comfortable for you. And we're just going to take a moment to bring the mind into the present, where the body is. So the mind is a very good time traveler. It likes to go in the past, it likes to go in the future, but the body always remains in the present moment. So we can use the breath to bridge the body and the mind together. And we're going to start that with a breath practice tonight. So just taking one moment of silence here, just listening to the breath coming in and out of the body. Feeling the sensation. What does it feel like for you? Can you become aware of the sensation in your body without any judgment, without any good or bad? Maybe you notice, well, maybe this is the first time you've had an opportunity to sit with yourself today. Maybe you notice a little tension in the shoulders or in the neck. Maybe a little holding in the jaw. Whatever it is for you, just give it some attention and awareness. Watching the body breathe, inhaling and exhaling. Not trying to control it, manipulate, or change the breath, but just watching it pass through the body. Bringing awareness to the pattern of your breathing is a direct bridge from your mind to your body. From here, we're going to start to begin to introduce our recalibration breath for our first little opening of meditation practice. So this breath is an amazing cooling breath. We're going to inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth like we're blowing on hot tea, kind of with pursed lips. Inhaling through the nose, filling that belly, ribs, and chest with that breath, and exhaling through the mouth like we're blowing on that hot tea. And if it feels good for you, maybe invite this little mantra in with your breath. On the inhale, can we say in the mind, breathing in, and on the exhale, I calm my body. So that might look like breathing in, I calm my body. And just saying that within the mind. Allows us to focus. Continue this breathing pattern for a couple rounds of breath here. Using the mantra if that feels like that resonates for you. Breathing in, I calm my body. And just notice what's starting to happen in the body when we start to slow down. Lengthening on each inhale and each exhale. Continuing with the recalibration breath, in through the nose, out through the mouth. The breath is an amazing tool that creates peace and calm in times when things can feel tight or restricted in life. Continuing with the breath, Notice if the shoulders start to relax. The mind is going to want to wander, and that's okay. It was designed to do that. Give it something to focus on. Draw it back to focusing on the inhales and the exhales. Or draw it back to the mantra, breathing in, I calm my body. Meditation isn't about blanking the mind out. It's about focusing or concentrating the mind on something that brings us calm, peace. Continuing with the inhales through the nose and exhale through the mouth. And just connecting to your reason why you're here tonight. Often stress or anxiety can be intensified by our resistance to it, trying to push it away or to fix it or make it better. When in reality, the thing that can make our stress and anxiety pass is our acceptance of it. So before we get into our physical practice, maybe you can search your heart and your mind and see if there is something that you're not accepting right now. It just might be hard to accept, hard to focus on. Acceptance doesn't mean we have to like it. It just has to mean that it's true. We're going to take 1 minute more of that inhale and exhale. Just silent breathing meditation as we sit with ourselves and connect. Breathing in, I calm my body. From here, let's return to neutral breath. We're going to take 3 nice big inhales and exhales with a nice sigh. So cleansing breath here. We're going to inhale. Exhale, let it go. Inhaling. And let it go. One more here. Inhaling. Let it all go. Just notice if you feel a little bit less tension. Maybe you feel more, who knows, right? Yoga has some interesting cleansing effects. From here, we're just gonna start to begin to move a little bit. I'm gonna start with our feet. So bringing one foot up to the knee or in front of you, however feels comfortable. You might even put a pillow or a blanket under your foot. And we're gonna give ourselves a foot rub. So just taking the thumbs and working our way, digging in there, really nurturing that foot. Think about all the things that our feet do for us all day long. Never asking anything of us. And in yoga, everything is rooting to rise, and it all begins in the feet. So let's open up that feet and just really nurture yourself here. Maybe you're not into your feet, that's okay too. Just invite you to explore. Just really get in there. Maybe open up the toes. Beautiful. Little rub of the heel there. See, we don't need people to rub our feet. We can rub our own feet. We don't need anyone to do this for us. All right, let's switch those feet up. I bet you can feel a little bit of a difference between those feet now. One kind of, mine feels a little bit open and circulated. So again, just using those thumbs to really rub into those arches, those beautiful feet of yours. Getting into the pads of the toes even. Maybe your feet were a little cold and now you're getting them all warmed up. I love you, feet. Thank you so much for all you do for me. All right, even kind of rubbing down those tops of the feet there. Really opening it all up. I bet you didn't expect to be rubbing your feet in yoga tonight. Maybe you did. All right. Beautiful, guys. Now let's come to easy pose again, but we're going to cross the legs in the opposite way that you were sitting for your meditation. So let's find those sits bones again and creating length in the spine here. You got it. So all the way from the tailbone up through the crown of the head, pointing to the sky. And coming into our practice. Let's bring the right hand down to the mat. We're going to, on the inhale, draw our left hand up, fingers reaching up to the sky here. Making sure to keep those shoulders out of the ears. Getting a nice stretch along the side ribs, and let's just take a gentle bend in that right shoulder if we want to tip over just a little bit further. Feeling a nice stretch from the hip all the way out to the fingertips. We can take our vision up to the sky, or maybe we feel more comfortable bringing our eyes down to the mat. Checking in with the neck, seeing what feels good for you. And on your next inhale, we're going to come back up to center. Let it go. Inhale again. Bringing our left hand down to the mat and right fingertips up to the sky. Reaching tall. No efforting or forcing, just gentle movements. And same thing here if we want to take a bigger bend in that left elbow, tipping us over a little bit further. You got it. Just exploring. Exploring with head coming down, exploring with eyes going up to the sky. Notice if your shoulders want to creep up towards your ears, if we can kind of give some space between the earlobes and the shoulders. Inhaling back up to center here. We're going to come forward onto our hands and knees for a tabletop position. Finding table, meaning keeping our knees underneath our hips, so joints stacking over joints, shoulder, elbow, wrist, keeping those hands nice and active so we're not falling into the wrist here. Curling those toes under for stability, and we're just going to find our intentional table here. So pressing into the mat so that the shoulders are nicely engaged on the back. Remembering that the head is an extension of the spine, so we're not letting it drop. We're keeping it nice and neutral and keeping the belly lifted. So pulling that navel, that belly button to the spine. On the inhale, we're going to start to bring our heart forward and our gaze forward. Dropping in the belly, and then on the exhale, we're going to round up, pressing into the mat like a Halloween cat. Inhale, coming heart forward, gaze off into the horizon. Exhale, pressing into the mat, rounding the back, sending that back of the heart to the sky. And just take a couple rounds of this with your own breath. Inhaling forward and exhaling, arching that back up, pressing away from the mat. And really finding what feels good for you here. Again, exploring. 2 more rounds. Now we're starting to match the breath with the movement. Beautiful. Coming back to neutral tabletop here. We're going to slowly bring the toes, ankles, and knees together so that our thighs come together. And we're going to come up seated on our calves. Thunderbolt pose here. Bringing our hands down to our thighs. We're going to take a gentle roll of the shoulder, just broadening in the chest, but not pinching in the shoulder blades. And from here, we're going to inhale our arms up to the sky and coming back down on the exhale. One more time, inhaling, arms up to the sky. And coming back down on that exhale. Inhale, arms up halfway. And from here, we're going to bring our arms forward, wrapping the left arm under the right and giving ourselves a nice big hug here. So we're grabbing each shoulder and we're just going to breathe here for a moment. Coming into this beautiful, comforting pose. Inhale deeply. See if you're still keeping length in the spine, and see if you can send the breath between the shoulder blades to the back of the heart. Beautiful. On your next exhale, let's bring those arms, extending them back out and down. We're going to inhale back up, arms up halfway. Exhale, we're going to wrap now right arm under left and do that same practice, grabbing our shoulders and giving ourselves a nice hug here. Find some deep inhales right down to the belly and letting it go. Maybe even experiment with bringing the chin to the chest. And seeing how that feels for you, maybe taking the head from side to side. Awesome, let's extend our arms back out in front of us. And we're going to come into a child's pose with our arms extended. So coming over our legs, folding over our legs here. And just bringing the forehead to the mat. You can also, if you have a block, you can bring your forehead to the block. Or you can bring your hands together like this if that feels better for you. Again, no pain, no pain. Checking in with what feels good. And just letting ourselves be supported fully and completely by the ground beneath us. Feeling that head, that forehead be real heavy on the mat. Breathing into the low back here. One more inhale and exhale. From here, we're going to start to come up, but we're going to keep reaching in those fingers as we bring ourselves up and onto our belly. Coming down nice and slow and easy. And from here, we're going to take our arms out to a T shape position and bring our right ear to the ground. If it's uncomfortable for you to do that, you can take your hands under your head. And we're coming into hug the earth pose. Oh, what could be more grounding than hugging the earth? Honestly. So from here, just feel as though someone's placed a bag of sand on your shoulders. And check in to see where we can let go into the feedback of the gravity beneath us. So using gravity to help the body get the signal that it's safe to release some tension. Inhaling as we feel the belly expand against the floor. Exhale, letting it go. Inhale, we're going to bring the head up and turn it over to the left side. Taking the same movement here. Again, checking in if we can see where the shoulders are. Bringing back that bag of sand, laying it across the shoulders, the back of the shoulders. And taking two big inhales and exhales here. Maybe see if your legs let go a little deeper as well. And from here, we're going to start to slide our hands back towards the chest, lining those hands right beside the chest, under the armpits. We're going to gently roll the shoulders, engaging the back shoulders, and take a slight lift into baby cobra. Inhaling, heart forward, everyone. Press the backs of the feet into the ground, tops of the feet into the ground, sorry. And on your exhale, coming back down. You got it. Let's try that one more time. Press the backs or the top of the feet into the ground, engaging the legs, inhaling. Heart forward. Exhaling, coming back down. Beautiful. Let's press into the ground to come up to the knees. And from here, we're going to take our hands about shoulder distance apart and take some nice big hip circles. Again, using the breath with the movement. Really feeling that breath coming in and out of the body. Let's take it in the other direction. Awesome work, guys. Checking in with the hips if you feel like you want to take a nice stretch in there or any organic movements. Go ahead and do that. In fact, do that throughout the whole practice. If there's something that you feel like you want to do more than what we're doing, you go ahead and take that movement. From here, we're going to start to engage the hands, press into the mat, curl those back toes under, and press up and back to downward facing dog. Let's walk it out here a little bit. Just feeling what it feels like along the back of the calf. Making sure that our weight is evenly distributed between the feet and the hands. Keeping the breath moving, keeping the head loose, and
a nice neutral back here. So if that means you're taking a nice bend in the knees to keep that back neutral, that's what we want to do. All right, guys, slowly walking ourselves up to the top of our mat, hinging at the hips here, pressing into the feet and coming up to a mountain pose, our first standing posture of tonight's practice. So let's find our mountain, a very intentional mountain pose here. So feet are hips distance apart. Let's ground down into the four corners of those feet. Lift and spread the toes and then drop them back down. Taking a nice isometric internal rotation of those thighs and pulling up on the belly of the zipper like you're pulling up on some tight blue jeans here. Gentle roll of the shoulders on the back, not pinching, but just keeping that chest broad. Fingers hang heavy as the head hangs over the body like a helium-filled balloon. That opening that we did of the feet is feeling that groundedness in the feet against the earth as the earth energy moves up through the feet, through the body, and out through the top of the head. We're going to take one moment here to just arrive in this beautiful posture, powerful posture, a posture that nurtures our true essence, something we can stand in like a mountain is our true essence. Solid, strong, unshakable. Beautiful. From here, we're going to start to really firmly plant down into the left foot here. Finding a good foundation. We're going to start to come into tree pose. So really rooting down in that left foot. We're going to take that right foot up and we can take it to the ankle, toes pointed to the mat. We can take it up to the calf, or we can inhale that leg, keeping that everything kind of coming into the midline, hugging everything, all that energy. Finding a nice gaze on the ground in front of you, soften the eyes. Bringing the hands to prayer if that feels good for you, and really hugging the legs together, feet into the thigh into the foot. Just want to stay off of the knee here. Again, there's three variations, three options here for you guys. So go ahead and use what feels good. Pressing into these hands and really feeling that root feeling. Balancing our posture. Not that we're not going to be shaky. We might be shaky and we might fall, and that's okay. On your next exhale, intentionally with control and grace, coming out of that posture. Shake it out a little bit in that leg. Oh yeah. And we're going to take it on the other side now. So firmly planting and rooting down into that right foot. Finding our engagement of the legs, pulling up on the zipper of the belly. And we're going to inhale that leg either to the ankle, the calf, or the thigh. Going as far as feels good. And bringing our hands to prayer. And again, one side might feel different than the other. That's quite normal. Focusing our soft gaze, our drishti, onto the ground. Finding our roots. What can we feel rooted about today? Using our breath to root down in this posture.
You got it, guys. You all look so beautiful right now. And with grace and control, let's let that down. Awesome. Shake it out. Nice work. Coming into your mountain pose again, we're going to practice ocean salutation for a few rounds. Some of you are familiar with that from class. So finding the four corners of our feet, finding our intentional mountain pose, lift and spread those toes, pulling up on the zipper and gentle roll of the shoulders, opening the chest. Leading with the pinky fingers, we're going to inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, hinging from the hips, send the hips back as we come down. Nice deep bend in the knees into a forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, gaze off to the horizon. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, delta wing the arms beside you and pressing ourselves up again. Extended mountain. Beautiful. Bringing those arms, sweeping them beside us, coming into prayer. Mountain pose. We're going to try that 2 more times for our flow opener. Inhaling, leading with the pinkies up overhead. Exhale, hinging at the hips. Inhale, forward fold. Exhale, forward fold. Oh, halfway lift, forward fold, guys, sorry. Inhale, delta wing those arms beside you and press yourself up. Coming into extended mountain. Bringing those arms down, floating them through the sky. Prayer pose. Mountain pose. Leading with the pinky fingers, inhaling up overhead. Exhale, hinge at the hips, forward fold. Let the head hang heavy. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, delta wing the arms and start to bring ourselves up. And exhale the hands down, coming into prayer. Beautiful. I'm just going to step up to the top of my mat where you guys probably already are. And we're going to plug in and start our moonrise flow. So finding those 4 corners of the feet, lift and spread the toes. Find your grounding. It's like if your feet were the tires and your hips were the headlights of the car. Kind of having that alignment there. Pulling up on the zipper of the belly, gentle roll of the shoulders. We're going to inhale, leading with the pinky fingers up overhead. And we're going to hold like a big, huge full moon in our hands here. Making sure to keep the ribs from jetting out. We want to keep those ribs nice and tucked. Opening up the heart. Keeping the weight evenly distributed in both feet. We're going to take a nice big inhale here. Exhale, lean to the right with your moon in your hand. Inhale to center. Exhale, lean to the left. Inhale to center. Exhale, hinging at the hips, forward fold. If you have blocks, you can use them or you can use the floor. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold once more. Let's bring the hands down beside the feet as we step the right foot back to a lunge. Let's get a little bit of a stretch here in this lunge. So feeling what feels good. Making sure to stack the knee over the ankle. Let's bring that back knee down to the mat.
to take a nice inhale at the top here. And on the exhale, we're going to slowly start to walk our hands beside the body as we extend that front leg, toes to the sky, and get a little bit of a stretch along the back leg there. On your next inhale, we're going to bring ourselves back into a lunge. And exhale, walk ourselves back again. Take one more of these movements on your own. Inhaling, coming forward to a lunge. And exhale, coming back over your leg. And when that feels complete for you, we're going to stay at the top in our lunge here. Beautiful. From here, planting down firmly into the feet, we're going to come up to the knee. Again, another option, guys, is you can pull a blanket under your knee here and just have some little added protection or a little added comfort. There's no reason to not feel comfortable or to be hurting in our yoga practice. So go ahead and take care of you. Inhaling here, finding that footing, and from here we're going to pull our arms up and hold that big full moon once more. Feel those legs nice and stable, strong and energized. And on the exhale, we're going to fold forward. We're going to take that right hand on the inside of the left foot, and then we're going to take that left arm and float it up to the sky for a nice gentle opening. Again, firmly planted in the feet here. And you might even take your vision to the sky or maybe down to the ground. Whatever feels comfortable. On your next exhale, we're going to bring it back down to the mat. From here, we're going to heel toe our foot across the mat as we lower the leg down, coming into a pigeon pose. If pigeon isn't in your wheelhouse, you want to come into a pinwheel pose. So having both legs about 90 degrees in a pinwheel. For those of you heading into pigeon pose, we want to make sure that we have our leg behind us extended nicely there, and we don't want to be dropping in to the left hip here. We want to make sure that we're keeping our hips square to the front of the mat. You can place a block under your bum for support or a blanket. We're just going to be here for a couple rounds of breath. Again, you know your body here, so be the authority on that. But I'm going to invite you to check in before you leave this pose. Is it delicious discomfort you're feeling or pain? Because sometimes we're uncomfortable and it's okay. Sometimes discomfort can bring growth. Sometimes if we just put a little bit of deep breathing into an intense posture or an intense time in our life, we can get through it. We can breathe. We can grow. So checking in with those hips, putting the breath there. Really letting go. We're going to be here for just a few more rounds of breath. So feeling into what feels good for you. Notice if the body starts to soften and let go with each round of inhales and exhales. Making sure to keep both feet nice and active to protect the knee. And from here, pressing into our hands, curl the back toe under, come up to a plank position as we start to draw that Left leg back to meet the right and walk it out in our downward facing dog. Checking in with how you're feeling. Keeping nice, generous bends in the knees. We're going to inhale, right leg up to the sky and bring that knee to the chest. Rock those hips to the sky and pull that leg through to the top of the mat for a lunge on the other side. Or however you get there, whatever works is good. We're going to drop that back knee down. And we're going to take a nice big inhale at the top, heart forward. Exhale, let's start to walk the hands back along the body. Coming into our lunge pranayama again. So inhaling at the top. Exhaling, walking ourselves back. Inhaling at the top. Exhale, walking it back. Moving with your own breath. The next time you're at the top of the mat, we're going to stay here. Take a nice little lunge here. And then we're going to plant down into that front foot and come up to the knee. From here, we're going to inhale our arms up overhead, holding that big full moon, not jetting out in the ribs here, but keeping the ribs tucked, opening in the heart. And on our next exhale, we're going to slowly, with grace and control, come back down to the mat, planting that left hand on the inside of the right foot as we inhale. Right arm up to the sky. Beautiful work. Keeping those shoulders out of the ears. We're going to come back down on the exhale. And we're going to heel toe that foot across the mat. Remember, either setting yourself up for a pinwheel or for a pigeon pose. And you might notice that each side feels a little different. Keep this foot nice and active in the front. And we're not going to fold over ourselves today. We're going to keep this a nice active pigeon. Remember to draw that right hip back, left hip forward. Just micro movements here. Isometric movements here. Using the inhale to lengthen and exhale to relax a bit deeper. It's easy to relax in a relaxing pose. It's much more difficult to relax in an intense pose. One key to let you know when it's time to get out of the pose is when you lose your breath in a posture. If you're holding your breath or you can't find those big inhales and exhales, it's time to back out and come into something different. Here we go, guys, a couple more rounds. Letting go, we're going to press into those hands, propping ourselves up to a plank and coming back again, downward facing dog, walk it out. Let's bring our knees down to the mat, big toes coming together, draw the knees far apart, and we're going to press it back to a wide leg child's pose. Bringing the head down, forehead down to the mat, arms extended long. Keep the fingers bright, nice and open. And take a few rounds of breath here. Drawing that inhale right down to the belly. Letting it exhale back out as the belly contracts. a little bit of a resting posture right now. Take 3 more big inhales and exhales. You got it. When that's complete for you, just slowly bring yourself back up. Find your hands back on the ground, and we're going to come back to a tabletop position. Curling those toes under. Press into the hands, brighten the fingers, pressing ourselves up to downward facing dog. Let's inhale the right leg up to the sky. Bring it into the chest and through to a lunge. And let's bring the left foot up to meet the right. Keeping the back neutral, we're going to inhale, hinging at the hips, coming up to mountain pose. We're going to try that flow going through all together one more time. And we might go just a little bit quicker now that we're a bit familiar with it. So let's find our mountain pose by plugging in to the feet. Lift and spread the toes. Gentle roll of the shoulders. On the inhale, we're going to bring our arms up overhead, holding that big full moon between our hands. Taking a nice inhale, we're going to exhale and lean towards the right. Inhale to center. Exhale, lean towards the left. Inhale to center. Exhale, hinge from the hips, coming over, folding over the legs, generous bend in the knees. Let the head hang heavy. On your next inhale, we're going to inhale, halfway lift, neutral back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, step the right foot back to a lunge. Dropping down in that back knee. And now explore your lunge pranayama here by inhaling at the top. Exhaling, walking it back over. And do this in your own time, with your own breath. Using the movement and the breath tied together with one another. One more time. And when you're at the top of the mat, again in your lunge, we're going to stay there. We're going to plant down into the feet, coming up to the knee. And this time you have an option to pop that back leg up if you're feeling like you want to be a little more active. Or if you want a more of a cooling practice, you can keep that knee on the ground. We're going to inhale, shoulders on the back, coming up. Crescent Warrior modification here. Holding that big moon in our hand. Exhale, coming down, folding over the leg. Bringing that right hand on the inside of the right foot. On your next inhale, opening up, floating that arm up to the sky. Exhale, rounding back down to the ground, and we're going to heel toe that foot across for a pigeon. Finding pigeon pose for you, pigeon, pinwheel, or you can take eye of the needle. And this time we're going to inhale deeply and exhale. We're just going to start to fold a little bit over if that feels good. Don't push yourself here. No forcing or contorting. Just finding what feels good. Taking 2 big inhales and exhales here. really starting to come back up to the hands if we're not there already. Press into those fingers, into those palms, pressing ourselves up to a plank, back to down dog. Walk it out just a bit as we inhale that right leg to the sky, then pulling that knee into the chest. We're going to rock through and bring it up, right foot up for a lunge. Again, we can bring that back knee down to the mat. Again, you can use your blanket here. We're going to inhale, exhale, walking it back. Inhale, and just move with your own breath and your own time here. Really feeling the body warming up in a slow, intentional movement. Next time you're at the top of the mat, we're going to stay here, planting down, finding that footing. We're going to inhale, bringing our hands up to our knees, and again, we can pop that back knee up, engage that thigh, engage those glutes, hug everything together to the midline. Inhale and bring those arms up overhead, holding that big full moon between our hands. Coming into a full Crescent Warrior. On the exhale, we're going to slowly, with grace and control, fold, come back over our feet. Bringing that knee back down to the ground if it's not there already. Plant the left hand, the inside of the right foot, and inhale, right arm up to the sky. Exhale, coming back down. Heel toe, that foot across the mat. Laying our leg down in front of us. Setting up for our intentional pigeon posture. Taking a nice big deep breath. And exhale, folding over, if that feels good for you tonight. Keeping that front foot nice and active to protect that knee joint. Taking 2 more inhales and exhales here. From here, we're going to slowly walk our hands back up, press into those hands, back to a plank, back to a down dog. Walk it out, guys. Really just take those hips, any kind of motion that feels good. Let the head just hang heavy, and then bring our knees down to the mat. Pressing back again to a wide leg child's pose. Just be here for a moment, allowing the integration of those movements, those stretches, those flows, just settle into your body. Noticing any sensations that you feel passing through your muscles. The sensation of the breath. When that feels complete for you, slowly pressing ourselves back up. We're going to curl the toes under, and we're just going to press ourselves back up to on our feet. Coming back up to a standing position. So from here, we're going to set ourselves up for angel wings breath. Now this is a beautiful practice that I use just on its own. It's definitely for stress relief or any anxiety, and it's the idea of moving with the breath in a very simplified way that we can just use any time of the day. So we're gonna bring our feet just about shoulders width apart, maybe a little more, finding something that feels comfortable. And then we're gonna kind of make sure that we can get a nice little bend in the knees if we need to. Keeping the back nice and lengthened and neutral. All right, extending those legs, we're gonna have our hands pointed, fingers down towards the ground right in front of us. So with each movement, there's an inhale, and we're moving both our legs and our arms. So this is how that movement goes. We're gonna inhale, we're gonna extend the legs and bring our hands to heart. On the exhale, we're gonna push out the fingers and bend in those knees again. On the inhale, we're gonna bring our arms up overhead and extend in the legs. And on the exhale, we're gonna float our hands beside us as the knees bend again, bringing our hands back to center. So let's try that all together. We're gonna inhale up, exhale out, inhaling up, exhaling out, inhale up, exhale out, inhaling up, exhale out, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Keep moving with this in your own way and pace. Getting lost in the breath and in the movement. Floating those angel wings beside you as the arms come down. I invite you to take your gaze down to the ground, or even shut your eyes closed if that feels good for you. Can you feel the calm waving over your body as you move methodically with your breath? This is definitely a cooling, bringing down the nervous system, postural meditation. We're going to do a few more rounds. See if your breath starts to become audible. One more time through. Really finding the peace within this movement. And when that's complete for you, we're just going to stand here for a moment. Let the hands hang at the sides and just feel the effects of that breath and that movement. Noticing that we were just in some more active postures. Maybe you feel a little tingly in the fingers. You feel your feet just connected to the ground. From here, we're just going to slowly start to make our way down to the mat, just by bending in the knees and kind of moving down. Noticing that the hips might start to get high as the hands come to the ground. From here, we might come up onto the toes on one side and the toes on the other, dropping in the hips, coming into a bit of a frog pose here. So however you get down into this posture, doesn't matter. Just finding our way down here that works for you, and just kind of playing a little bit. We like to play a lot in yoga at BPM. We just like to play with what feels good in our own bodies and just move organically. Just seeing if it feels good to open up the hips, moving really intentionally and slowly, or maybe you're taking a little bit more of a quicker motion. And when that feels a little complete for you, we're going to come into a squat. And this is where I invite you to take your blanket if you'd like, and you can roll it up under your heels to help with that dorsiflexion, that flexion of the heels, the ankles there. We can prop ourselves up, and this allows us to keep that length in the spine. So taking our elbows to the inside of our knees, taking our hands to prayer. And if you notice, I'll turn onto my side here, but the back stays neutral and I'm not rounding in on myself here. The back can stay nice and neutral, and that can be done by propping up the heels comfortably with a blanket. Again, we want to find what works for us in our body. We're all proportionately different. We all have different life experiences in our body. We need to find what works for us, and that's our yoga, that's our practice. Keeping our focus on us and our mat and what it is that we need for that moment. Really feeling the grounding of this posture as the pelvic floor connects to the earth energetically. Feeling that root chakra opening up and connecting. Pulling that energy all the way up through the spine and out to the top of the head. When that feels complete for you, let me go ahead, bring your hands down to the mat, come forward, and you can take that blanket out from under the feet. And we're going to rock back onto our bums. We'll start to come down into a restorative pose before we hit our final resting pose. So let's bring ourselves down onto our backs, knees pointed to the ceiling, feet flat on the ground, and let's find our feet in a comfortable distance, hips width apart, comfortable distance from the bum so that it relieves and takes some pressure off of the hip flexors here by having the weight distributed into the feet and into the back of the pelvic, so the sacrum. So seeing if we can just allow the hips to take a little bit of a rest here. And I'm going to invite you to bring one hand on the pelvic belly and one hand just above the navel. And let's just feel the rhythm of the breath moving through these two areas. Feeling the wave of the pelvic belly and the together. We're going to bring the hand that was on the pelvic belly and bring it up to the solar plexus. One hand on the belly, one hand on the solar plexus. Feeling the rise of the belly and the rise of the solar plexus. Feeling the fall of the belly and the fall of the solar plexus. Taking the hand on the belly and bringing it to the heart. One hand on the heart, one hand on the solar plexus. Inhaling deeply, exhaling and letting go. Bringing our hand that's on our solar plexus, we're going to bring that up to our throat, or just under the throat, whatever's comfortable for you. We're just going to inhale into the throat and into the heart. Feeling the back of the heart between the shoulders expand against the ground. We're going to take the hand that was on the heart and we're going to place it on our forehead. Inhaling into the throat, inhaling into the third eye, our forehead, energy centers. From here, we're going to bring the heels of the palms over our eyes, letting the eyes relax backwards. Bringing our arms down beside the body, extending one leg at a time, and setting ourselves up for Shavasana, our final resting pose. So if that means that you want to grab your blanket to cover yourself up as you lay down on the ground, on the floor, you might have an eye pillow, you might want to take a sip of water. I'm going to encourage you to get as comfortable as you possibly can. Feeling the floor beneath you, anything that feels like a P now, by the end of this will feel quite uncomfortable. So the idea here is to make yourself comfortable so you can fully release into the support beneath you and let go all of the tension that might be stored in the body, sinking into your Shavasana practice, one of the most difficult yoga poses. It's hard to be still sometimes, but the more you practice it, the more it works. And as we sink into this posture, I'm going to share a reading with you. In the future, I'm going to close my eyes to the imperfection of other people and endeavor only to see their good points. Everyone has lovable traits in his or her character. Even the hardest cases have a soft spot somewhere. Therefore, in the future, I will look only for the lovable traits in the soft spots. In everyone, I shall see something to admire and reverence, something to love. And I shall not stop with people. I will also look for the good in every circumstance, in every difficulty, in every failure. I will look for the good in every blade of grass, in every opening flower, in the wind that blows and the sun that burns my cheeks. Rain or shine, fair weather or foul, I will see good in everything, see perfection underlying all. Out of these will grow a new sympathy, a more extensive and embracing love, a larger and wider consciousness, for everyone and everything are connected. Each forms a part of one whole. We are one with one another and the universal life and mind of which we are from an individual part. Allowing anything from this practice that's come up to marinate with you now in this gentle pose of restoration. Go ahead and inhale deeply, and as you relax, release, and let go, take that exhale. I will let you know when it's time to come out of this posture, so feel free to just sink in and enjoy.
beginning to bring some awareness back to the space. Starting to maybe wiggle the fingers, scrunch up the toes. Maybe take the head gently from side to side. Just taking any micro movements that start to wake up the body in a very gentle way. We want to hang on to this feeling of ease. When that feels good for you, go ahead and inhale your knees up to your chest, taking a nice big hug, and then dropping over to the right side in a fetal position. Maybe even taking the head under the arm if that feels more comfortable. Really curling up into yourself. I'm going to take a few rounds of breath here and just be. Here, we're just going to bring our hands down to the mat beside us and gently, ever so gently pressing ourselves up to a seated position. Whatever seated position feels comfortable for you, easy pose or Thunderbolt Pose. Maybe you want to wrap the blanket around you, stay nice and warm, cozy. If you're feeling a little cool now, a little more chilled, that's because your nervous system has come down into parasympathetic, which is just where we want to be in our evening practice. So let's find those sits bones, pulling the bum out of the way, creating some nice length in the spine, broad in the chest and shoulders, just relaxing. We're going to close our practice with one cleansing breath, and then an inhale and exhale to the sound of Om. If you want to join me, that's fantastic. You don't have to though, and or you can just hum. That's also an option. Your body loves the frequency of your own voice, so I'm going to invite you to finish that practice with me. So inhaling, bringing our hands up to heart center, prayer pose. Exhaling, letting go. Inhaling and exhaling to Om. Om Shanti, Shanti peace. Namaste everyone. I hope you enjoyed that class. I hope that you're feeling a little more grounded and a little less stressed, and that maybe you can enjoy a nice bath tonight or, have a great night's sleep. Namaste.